All right, I think we are live. Thank you so much for being here to another episode of the Profitable Christian Business Podcast. I am exuberant. Me and Leon had a brief conversation right before we started, and I feel like we're already friends. We share a lot of the same views. I shared some of the struggles that I'm going through as a Christian man sending his daughter off to a secular college. So we were able to touch base on that. But thank you so much, Leon, for being here. Leon, I have to ask you a favor because I did not ask you this before we got started. How do you pronounce your last name?
It's pronounced Dwinga.
Dwinga. I would have said it right.
Yeah,
All right. So
nice.
we have Leon Dwinga with us here today, and he has wrote an amazing book. We're going to get into all the things that he does so well, as well as talk a little bit about faith. Probably not just a little bit, a lot about faith, because this is, I think the key word in this podcast title is Christian business. So we're going to talk about how his faith has worked through his life and through his business, and get into all that. But without further ado, Leon, please introduce yourself.
Thank you so much, Doug. My name's Leon Dwinga. I'm the owner of Runaway Productions, and we produce live events all over the United States. We also help organizations install equipment into their spaces so that they can do the same. And I'm the author of a book called $1 Million Event, and it just lays out the blueprint for how you can grow your organization's influence and resources with the power of live events.
Nice. All right. So what I like to do initially is some more I kind of got to know you. I want the audience to get to know you a little bit before we get into all the deep business and faith stuff. So this is a little bit of a business question. What inspired you to start Runaway Productions?
So I was super blessed to be in a musical family. I'm a musician far before I'm a technologist or a strategist. And at the age of 11, I became obsessed with recording my music. I wanted to be a rock star. And I got my first 8-track recorder at that time. And I started leaning into how you can make an excellent sound. And that just never stopped. At age 15, I started touring because my godmother works for one of the largest, most successful audiovisual providers in my area. And I got to meet the owner. And at the time, they were a 4-person organization, not really big. And he said to my godmother something to the effect, "He's great. Where does he go to college?" My godmother said, "He's barely in high school." He said, "I don't care.
Wow.
Let's bring him on shows." And that turned into a lot of freelancing with that company, of which I'm very grateful. And I cut my teeth working on large corporate events across the country for Fortune companies, doing all the lighting, the video, the staging, the sound, and preparing excellent messages for these organizations. So I went to college. I went to college for economics and for business operations management. And I continued freelancing as much as I went to school, for better or for worse. I think it was for better in my case. And I started growing my equipment inventory soon after college. So I'd been buying equipment from age 11 through that point and haven't stopped. A couple $1 million later, I have lots of equipment and we've done lots of shows under the Runaway Productions umbrella. And I'm blessed to still partner with some of those people that gave me an opportunity when I was younger.
Nice. Now, questions based on what you've said. So musician. Now, is that singing? Is that particular instruments? Kind of dive into that a little bit.
So I started playing the trumpet and the French horn in early grade school. I moved into playing guitar and bass and keyboards later, and singing and songwriting. So that's the breadth of what I do.
So you could be like a one-man band. You could do like those videos I see where they play the guitar and then play the drum and then put it all together. That's pretty amazing. So I don't know your age. I could probably guess, but you said 8-track in there, and I would not have imagined you to be the age of an 8-track recorder. So were you into hair bands?
So first off, just for a little fun, how old do you think I am?
42.
36.
Oh man, I shot
But
some
I
high.
get that all the time. I get that all the time. It's fine. Hopefully when I'm like 52, people still say 42.
Yeah.
But so this was a digital 8-track recorder. So not like the square cassette,
Oh,
like
gotcha.
8-track. Yeah, this was 8 channels of digital audio recording little machine. Yeah.
Okay.
So hair bands, my dad was a rocker. and
Mm.
my mother, a classical musician that toured Europe. So I come from uh, tremendous musicians, and their parents, their fathers, actually played together professionally far before they even met. So
Wow.
it was fate. So hair rock, yes. If I'm hanging out with my dad, we're working on something. It's something like that. He listens to a lot of blues nowadays,
Okay.
so we'll he has control of the playlist, and that's fine. But a lot of Stevie Ray Vaughan growing up, a lot of Journey, REO Speedwagon, things like that. But then
Okay.
with my mother, Electric Light Orchestra,
Mm.
and so many other Bread. We listen to a lot of Bread
Oh,
with
yeah.
and
Okay.
Mom's Car. Yeah.
Nice. Um, Journey, man, if any of band stands the test of time, I think it's Journey. Journey just like I think of other hair bands from there, like Bon Jovi, nobody really cares about them anymore. Like, but Journey, like you'll hear their song, it's like, yes. So
I
I
was
love
just
Journey.
saying that the other day. Don't Stop Believing came on, and I said, what a timeless song. Our
Hmm.
children's children will be singing this song. It's that good.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. Um, so now I know you're from Pittsburgh and you still live in Pittsburgh, is that correct? So
Yes.
what is your favorite thing about Pittsburgh?
I've had the pleasure of working all around the United States. And when I come home and I deal with people from home or who've moved here, generally speaking, they're very nice.
Hmm.
I have a lot of friends from the other side of the state, and they're nice too, but not usually at the first meeting. Usually there's a guard there. They're protecting themselves, and that's cool. And after they know you're a person of good character, um, you get into a little more intimacy. But in Pittsburgh, it's amazing. I'll go from I don't know you, I don't know anything about you, to exchanging contact information and giving each other advice, and it's I think there's a lot of love in this city, so I love that about it.
Nice. It's odd that you say that because I haven't really thought about it this way, but Pennsylvania may be one of the most divided states, like as far as just all kinds of different things, right? Like one side of the state versus the other. Because I was born in Ohio, so much of probably what you're speaking of in Pittsburgh is what the people of Ohio are like. Um, so I get that, but that's really interesting. I never really thought about the divide of Pennsylvania as much. Um, until you just said that.
That's something I learned in college.
Yeah.
I went to a school where seemingly half of the people were from Philadelphia and half were from Pittsburgh, and it just happened that the best friends I made were from Philadelphia, and
So
we all had the same kind of relationship pattern I described earlier.
wow, wow, nice. So my next question is, while you're not organizing world-class events, how do you like to unwind and spend time? I imagine there's going to be music involved.
So you described the one man band thing. I do that right in the space. Actually, I have a loop station. I put some drums, put bass, put piano, and then I do a lot of freestyling, which means pick a topic, and then I start singing, rapping, and creating songs around that topic.
Nice. Rapping too. All right. So do you have
Yeah,
a TikTok channel devoted to this, a YouTube channel, anything, any social channels devoted to that?
absolutely not.
Oh man.
Though that is a commitment I've made over and over again. I used to be pretty prolific in social media back when it was new.
Hmm.
2006, I had a pop in MySpace, and it takes an incredible amount of time,
Hmm.
especially as a musician, to put into that. So I had a good client back when I was doing a lot of recording work that said, I don't do music to be famous. I don't do it really for anyone to listen to it. I do it for myself.
Hmm.
And at the time, I didn't understand it. I'm like, we're putting a lot of resources into this. Why not kind of cater it? But now I really do understand it. And music for me it's an act of worship. And that is where I do most music. Like on a Sunday morning, you'll find me
Hmm.
with a guitar, keyboard, or something at church, praising the Lord. And that's what brings me the most joy with music. But that said, I have a lot of songs now that I think can cross over from being straight Christian to people may not even realize the source of the message,
Hmm.
but I think would connect with it. So I actually on Friday had my first session with a producer I'm bringing in to help me get these songs across the goal line. I have well over 100 tunes in the can, so to speak. And
Wow.
having somebody who's been there, done it, been a part of major hit records say, I like that one, not so much. Let's work, let's do this. I think what you're trying to say is, so making progress there.
Wow. Wow. So I heard in there, I guess you're part of your worship team then.
Yes.
Nice.
Yes, I am.
Nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
worship and production.
Um, so how large is your church? Is this a large worship team?
Our worship team is huge.
Wow.
And it changes depending on the week. Sometimes we'll even have two people for like an acoustic set. It gives everyone kind of a break. We're a mobile church right now. So
Okay.
we actually meet at a high school. We empty a big trailer. We set up all of the equipment we need every week. We praise the Lord and we put it all back.
Wow.
So church for
Nice.
us is a 7 in the morning till like 1 in the afternoon
Wow.
affair, but God calls you where he calls you. And that's certainly where my family's been called. And I really love my Hill City family.
Yeah, I can see where all of your skill sets and experience can really help in that arena with the worship team. So really, really cool. So now a sports question. Being in Pittsburgh, do you like any of the teams? Are you a Steelers fan, a Penguins fan, a Pirates fan?
So I'm definitely a Pittsburgh Penguins fan. I've always
Nice.
loved hockey. The Pirates, no, I've done plenty of work for them and appreciate that. They do some really nice things with their foundation, with the Miracle League and providing opportunities for kids with special needs. I like that about them. But
Yeah.
baseball in general, not a huge fan. I like teams that try to win, and I can't. I'm not a baseball expert. I don't know that the Pirates are trying to win. I'm sure some people think they are.
Yeah. Yeah. What was
The
that?
students,
Moneyball? They're probably not doing Moneyball.
I think they are, or maybe
Oh,
I think I somebody did a talk about it. I was running sound for. I'm not
oh.
exactly sure, but it seems like once we get a really good player, we trade them off. So
Mm,
I don't really know. And the Steelers, uh, football kind of changed a little bit for me
mm,
when they got away from when it started to bring politics into the
mm,
sport. And just for me, like, this is a togetherness thing,
mhm.
left, right, center. I don't understand how we're taking time to protest the national anthem kind of thing. I respect anyone who would do that or feels a certain way. Actually share a lot of sentiments with people, but um, man, it's America. Like, it's a national anthem. We live here. Come on.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
stopped watching football. I don't really like it that much.
Okay. I don't watch much National Football League. When I did, I usually followed players, right? Like Peyton Manning. It didn't matter where he played, like whether it was Indianapolis or Denver. That's the team I rooted for because I rooted for the person, right? He's such a funny guy, and he seems to have a good moral compass. Anybody you assume sometimes to have a good moral compass, you find out later it may not be so. But that's why no one should like really follow celebrities' opinions on much of anything because they sometimes will let you down in being who you don't think, being someone that you don't think they are, right? So awesome.
That's very true. And I think that plays a lot into my opinion of the team. So very often I'll be doing an event at PPG Paints Arena where the Penguins play, and I'm allowed to come in there. Essentially, the team will finish their practice. They'll leave. I'll come in. I'll do my thing. And the last person to leave always is Sidney Crosby, regarded as one of
Mm.
the best players of all time. And he'll be in his Range Rover, and I'll be in a big truck and a big trailer, and he'll stop and he'll be like, "Come on!" And I'm like, "No, you go." And he's like, "No, come on." I think he likes to watch me back this thing up in a challenging
Wow.
situation. But the class that's shown by every single player, personnel, anyone who's a part of that organization, I think is unreal. And I'm so proud to do work for them because I see how they pour into the community. I see how they pour into their people. And, Sidney Crosby has every reason in the world to, have an ego such that
Mm.
I don't need to look at you or yeah, I'm going first or whatever, but he's the guy who'll give you a smile. He's the guy that'll
Nice.
sign the autograph, and his humility really attracts me to that organization, and it leads its way down into the other players. So cool.
Yeah. Team culture. Oh, so huge. So I do like one particular football team. It's not in the NFL though. It's the Clemson Tigers. because I live here in the upstate of South Carolina. Um, I will confess I was a Florida State fan because I grew up in Florida. Because Bobby Bowden's team culture, there was a few things that were questionable in his tenure, but overall, he produced high quality individuals to come out of that organization. Then things seemed to went sideways with Florida State, the team culture and all of that. And I happen to live here. And then I saw what Dabo Sweeney was doing with the Tigers, and the culture is unparalleled. Like, to me, in college football, like the type of people, not just athletes, the type of people that come out of that organization, and the way that they work in the community and all of that. It's just that's why I'm a fan, more than just how they perform on the field. So
Yeah, it's something you can really get behind, good culture, good organization, because it really just is an extension of how we treat life. So
yeah, very much
very
true.
cool. Yeah.
So now, this is what I like to call the heart of the interview. So, and this is totally freeform. So start wherever you want to start. And we usually like you to end up like where you are now, but kind of just tell us your journey, your story. And there's no time limit on this, really. I don't have a call for a while, so tell as much as you want.
Awesome. I'll try and keep a 40,000-foot view, and if something's interesting to you, we'll go a little deeper. So,
Awesome.
as I expressed earlier, I'm a musician, and if you want your music to be heard and you want it to get out there, production becomes a part of that. And then I had the opportunity to truly grow in production with some great mentorship, working for a phenomenal company and getting to work with the owner directly, which is totally different than getting to work with maybe an employee of an organization, because the accountability, the ownership, and the thought behind why you do every single thing, and the lessons that you learn from those purchases, and from maybe the shows that didn't go so well, or how you were able to fix something in a last minute situation. That's real. Those are the lessons that really have propelled me to a place where I can have a company that's successful and has excellent reviews and great long-term customers. So along the journey of that, I grew up in a family of entrepreneurship. My parents are home builders, and I grew up building houses, which is grueling work, and but also has tremendous benefit on the other side of that work. And I knew that I wanted to work hard. I knew I wanted to a degree, be able to determine my own destiny, but I knew that I didn't want to be a home builder. My parents actually strongly encouraged me, don't be a home builder. And they actually strongly encouraged me not to be an entrepreneur. And looking back, I think that was actually great advice, because if you don't want to be an entrepreneur through the adversity and through the difficulty, it's not going to work on the long term. That's why most businesses don't make it 7 years. Praise the Lord. This is my 19th year
Well,
of
congratulations.
business. And we made it through a pandemic. We made it through the financial recession. And glory to God, I don't think that I could have done either one of those things had I not been just blessed with opportunity and his provision. But if I didn't stick to it and I didn't continue to work hard when it was really challenging, particularly COVID, I wouldn't be here. I would have quit, and there would have been a lot of consequences for that. You get into business, you have big expenses, you have big investments, and those investments have a time limit, particularly in a technology business. The camera that was cool 8 years ago is not a cool camera anymore. And that can be said for all of the other disciplines within live event production. So I've basically just followed my discernment where I felt God was calling me. And there are people, I'm sure, in your life and others who are watching that are of a Christian faith that speak into your life, that God has given something to, that when they talk to you, you know that's not really of them. That's the Holy Spirit. Or for those maybe watching that aren't believers, call it karma, call it the universe, whatever you call it, that you just know that that person has something to say to you, and it's important to listen to. And I've been super blessed with great parents, and I have tremendous family that has, for the most part, all lived a godly life and have always led me in that direction. I was blessed with great mentors that, two in particular, that helped me monumentally get to next levels. And they did that because I was a person of goodwill that tried their best, that showed up and brought their A game, so to speak. And um, both of them, to some degree, said, it doesn't matter if I tell you this or not. You're going to do this anyway. Like, you have the
Mm.
skills, you have that desire, but since you're here,
Mm-hmm.
why don't you? And those things have really pushed me. And I think the heart of a business owner is, I actually love the people that I serve, and not the same way I love my wife. I write about this in my book. Not the same way I love my best friend, but I have authentic love and authentic care for what they're doing. And rather than being concerned with the production, is the lighting just so amazing, the sound so phenomenal, I'm concerned with the mission of their organization and how I can help them get from where they are to where they want to be. And that goes deeper than just them. Who are they serving?
Mm.
So I've always had vision to see that and understand that the person consuming that end product is somebody that's worthy of love. And like, for the business owners hearing this that don't believe that, well, isn't somebody worthy of love, whatever kind of love, that provides for you and your family, that makes your business successful? So I've always seen that, and I've always believed that, and I continue to employ that, whether I'm working with a school or a church, or I'm working with a foundation or a national sports team. I always try and really, really care and love the people well who are going to be receiving what I'm doing, and that has served my clients and their clients and my family well.
Nice. So I want to go back to a question about, it was interesting that you said you were raised by entrepreneur parents. Now, was there a time in your upbringing where you seen them struggle, their business struggle?
100%. So being a home builder in the early 2000s and through the financial
Mm.
recession, they've been open with this, but there was a point at which they built custom homes.
Okay.
So you have somebody hires you and they say, this is what I want, and then they pay you for it and you do it. But then there are homes called spec houses,
Mm-hmm.
and you build those with your money. And I've watched them go into plans where there are rules. If you're going to be a builder in this plan, you must buy a lot every 6 months,
Mm.
and you must have a spec house a year or two a year. My parents are rule followers, and I'm a rule follower.
Yeah.
And I watch them do those things, and then other builders come in and not do them, not
Mm.
hold those standards, and see developers that they just want to sell lots. And then that's all fine and well until you have the financial recession,
Mm-hmm.
and you're sitting on a couple $1 million of homes, and you're paying interest on those homes every month. And there's a point at which you can be an excellent steward of money, you can be an excellent provider, you can create value, but things happen. And banks folding,
Mm-hmm.
and credit tightening, and watching your customer who may be totally qualified to buy your house no longer able to, because of circumstances out of their control and out of your control. That was very difficult to watch. And my business felt it. Obviously, it was far less important in those days for me. I was a college student. My business
Mm.
wasn't some huge thing, and still is a rather small business. But then going through COVID, I was able to lean on the things that I saw in my parents' lives, and how they never broke the faith. They kept a positive attitude. My father always used to say, they can take everything from us tomorrow. As long as we have our health and we have each other, I'll start over, like whatever. And I think that attitude was very healthy. When my mother would get really upset about those things, and
Mm.
that would be my father's go-to line. And every day he went to work, he didn't sit home and cry. And maybe he did, but it was probably in his truck alone,
Mm.
and no one saw that. I think I probably was a little more forward with how I felt with COVID and lockdowns, and being one of the 5% of people that was labeled non-essential, when I'm clearly essential to my wife and to my children and
Yeah.
my church and things like that. Yeah, so I think that was probably, those were learning to work hard, be consistent, and then keeping a good attitude when things are rough, and when they aren't even your fault, but still being accountable for it.
Yeah. The perseverance. I think that's very key. I really want the audience to pick up on that because um I've interviewed so many entrepreneurs, and I don't know, I haven't interviewed one that said it was just all a skyrocket. It was all, a mountain. There's valleys in entrepreneurship. There are valleys. It's not when, it's not if, it's when it's going, the valley is going to happen, right? And that perseverance, and some valleys are deeper than others, right? But it's that perseverance through the valley, And I think as Christian entrepreneurs, we have something special. We have faith. We know that God is on our side, right? Not to say that he's going to necessarily pull us out of that valley and give us what we want, right? But he's going to do for our good, right? And his glory. So whatever comes on the other side of that valley, you can always know that it's for our good. So there's so much assurance in that.
It was incredibly necessary for me personally during COVID, just to know that, you know, God shuts one door, he opens another, and that for those who believe,
Hmm.
even the bad things are good. And just constantly reminding myself of that, my wife constantly reminding me of that, and to see the Lord work through impossible situations, but still choose to keep us. You know, my children, um, when COVID hit, one was two, wasn't even here, and I don't think when they're adults they'll be able to tell you anything about COVID other than they wore masks. I don't think they'll be able to say, "Oh, my parents were going through the hardest time in their life." I don't think they'll say that, and I can only attribute that to the peace of the Holy Spirit, uh, to just keeping my faith, to just knowing how important it was for me to be of faith. And my uncle is a pastor and also a Christian entrepreneur. He owns a body shop, and he's the music ministry head at his church. And when the pandemic happened, he came over to my house and he said, "I just want to let you know, I'm so proud of you, but people are watching you, and everything that you're
Mm-hmm.
going through and everything you're about to go through, um, just remember that people really do look to you." And I never thought about life that way. My wife never thought about, we always thought, you know, be a good example.
Yeah.
But to have people approach us later, years later, and say, you know, we saw what you went through there. And we just appreciate that you continue to show up. We appreciate your attitude. We appreciate, and that gave us a lot of peace, because you don't know that you're doing something well when everything's crashing down around you, and no input gets an output. It's just, well, this happened. Oh, and now this is happening. Up 2 weeks, just 2 weeks, 2 months, 2 years,
Hmm.
and you just have to keep rolling. But I'm
Yeah.
so glad I didn't let it destroy my family life. I'm glad that I didn't quit this business when, you know, if you're an entrepreneur, you're always going to find opportunity,
Hmm.
and sometimes in other things. And I thought maybe God's calling me to something totally different. Um, and then I would get that call from that nonprofit, and then I would get that call from that church that needed what I was doing, that maybe was taken advantage of by someone in my position in my industry. And um, it just brought to light, no, actually I have great purpose in this, and it's not just about making money and being profitable, and, you know, those are great things, but it's
Yeah.
also about, you know, loving on these people and helping them. And that's really why I wrote the book. I wrote the book because I'd get a call from, like, some, let's say, a pregnancy center, and they raise money, they show mothers an ultrasound, and then they can see that, and that often influences their decision on whether they're going to keep their child or not, and helping them design some video. And, you know, obviously they don't have very much money, but knowing that that work makes a difference. So I'll spend like 3 hours talking about
Mhm.
different things you could do that don't even necessarily cost money. But it's impossible even for the smartest among us to retain that much information.
Mhm.
So in writing the book, I could say, here's 5 things high level that I think would really help you. And here's this book. I want you to have it. These are the best ideas. This is what I've seen work over the last 20 years. And that's why I did it. And really happy to have that tool now. So I can feel good that I really gave someone my all, because I couldn't do it just on a phone call or even 10.
Wow. Um, this is what the Lord's bringing me to ask you. It's maybe in my questions later, but I'm going to ask you now. So talk about your prayer life through this, through your business. Let's talk about your prayer life during COVID and how it is now, whether there was any change in your prayer life throughout your journey. Can you just speak on that a little bit?
So I've had tremendously fruitful seasons of prayer, and I've had huge valleys in that. And I'll just be completely honest in that. For a long time previous to COVID, I, like, years, I'd wake up really early. I'd start my day, and in prayer, I'd go really deep. And I like to follow the PRAY acronym. Pray, ask, yay.
Mhm.
And sometimes I would do it backwards. I kind of like the yay first. And usually how that looks for me when I'm on my best game, when I feel like I'm really living out the faith, is I'll have a piano and I'm worshiping the Lord. I'm just before the Lord. I'm giving him all the glory. And I'll raise those concerns, and I'll raise those things that I think I'm being called to share with my Father. Through COVID, I actually had a great prayer life. It was really fruitful. I was making lots of those songs, lots of those one-man band songs. A lot of that was because I had no other outlet to express that pain. I didn't want to get on Facebook or on YouTube and like start criticizing the government. But I will say right here that a lot of what our government did was so detrimental to children. It was detrimental to people at their end stages of life. Like, I think that the concept of protecting the vulnerable is such a great thing, and I
Mhm.
live that.
Mhm.
But I think the idea that you're going to stop a respiratory virus by making 5% of people not able to do what they do in a free country, I don't think that's very smart. But for me, I needed to lean into prayer for that. I didn't see a benefit of going on social media and um, criticizing the CDC or something like that. I saw a benefit though in making songs of praise to the Lord, and um, that was probably maybe one of the most fruitful seasons of prayer. And if I ever get that TikTok going, you'll probably hear a lot of those songs. It's interesting to go
Nice.
back and hear them and hear the pain and the trial and the tribulation that I was totally living with and wearing and just feeling every ounce of my fiber, that now I'm largely free of,
Mm.
which is wonderful. But I think that's a great thing about songs and content, is that it does capture that moment in time, and it does capture those lessons. And for legacy, for your children, for even your children's children, this video here realistically could live far past us and far past them. And who knows, that our kids, what they're going through in a far future time, maybe in the next 100-year pandemic, and they hear some of the words that we say, and maybe it touches them.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
um,
That's one of the reasons I started this podcast, is because stories like yours, um, whether it's somebody now in the present that needs to hear something like what you have to say, or in the future, right? That they have not gone through what you've gone through, and they can be a little bit more prepared. Um, and so just to touch back on your prayer life, often I feel like is my case a lot of times, is that we go through a trial because God's like, you're getting too far away from me. You know, you, I'm going to bring something to you, and it's gonna put you under pressure, but it's to draw you closer back to me, because I think you've kind of forgotten. And it's there's stories throughout the Bible, right? Of the people get a little too comfortable and happy, right?
yeah,
And they start to go astray, and God's like, I need to pull you back in, and
yeah,
let you know that I'm the God, I'm your God, and I'm your Savior. I'm the one in control, right? But as scary as that may sound to some people, it's faith, right? And it's so beautiful. It's so beautiful. So anyway, thank you for sharing that.
oh, you're welcome. No, yeah, I couldn't agree more. Look at Job. A wealthy man. He lost everything he owned. He lost his wife, lost his children, and then he was repaid, as they say, double for his trouble. And
Yeah.
not that that's why we endure and we look to God, but um, there's a promise on the other end of that. And they say, like, if you were a tree, you'd never prune yourself. It would hurt too much.
Hmm.
But God needs to prune us.
Yeah.
And thank God we don't have to do it to ourselves. It would never get done.
That's right. That's right. I love that analogy. So now we're going to get a little into your expertise. We're going to talk a little bit about what you do, a little bit more about your faith. Um, the first thing is you know what? Let me backtrack, because I didn't ask you our fill in the blank question. Usually I ask that before you share your story. So your fill in the blank question is: in my journey as a Christian entrepreneur, I've learned that the key of balancing faith and business is blank.
It's prayer. It's
Mm,
prayer and discernment. I think discernment, but how do you discern if you're not praying? I don't know. And I think making life a prayer.
mm,
So I think it's been so long that as I'm doing anything, if something bad happens, I'll just go praise the Lord instead of
mm.
saying like a swear word. Or if something good happens, I'll say praise the Lord. And if someone compliments me, I'll say, oh, thank you, praise the Lord. And I actually mean that. I remember hearing someone do that the first time. I complimented their music. It was a worship leader, and I said that was great. He goes, praise God, and just didn't think about it. It's just what came out, and I was like, that's weird. But interestingly, that's who I've become, and that's actually my position. So I think that the key to success is praising God through all of it, and not being concerned about, you're at this grand high or this grand low, which entrepreneurship very much is, but you're just kind of even. Give God the glory and thank you, and just know that He's in control.
Yeah. One of the things for me is recently in my prayer life is I used to think, I'm only going to take the big stuff to God, not the trivial day-to-day stuff, right? Um, but that's not relationship, right? Well, how would your friend feel if and only time you ever talked to them was when you had like either something really um great that happened to you, or you're in the down in the dumps. They'd just be like, man, all they ever do is come to me with their with all their biggest problems. Like, no, a relationship is exactly that. You're talking to them, you're talking to your friend constantly, right? And you're sharing even the smallest things about your life. God cares about that. So that's something I've learned in my prayer life recently is um to have real relationship is like even the smallest stuff I want to share with him, and because I know he is in every part of my life. So
Oh, I completely agree, and that's why I think that throughout the day, like, I think it's important to have a dedicated prayer time. But for me, and what's worked best in my life has been that just my walking journey. It's just that's what I do. It's part of it. Oh God, please help me with this. Lord, help me load this truck so that nothing moves.
mhm.
I have to get to Minnesota. We're going
Yeah,
across the country. Lord, please bless these tires. I don't want
yeah,
any blowouts. I need to get there. Lord, bless the truck.
yeah,
Like, cause I know that there's a billion components and they could go wrong and I could be on the side of the road and disappoint my customer. So Lord, just could you please bless that? And I have a lot more peace walking that way.
yeah, yeah. I do as well. It's one of the biggest things that I've done recently that has brought me so much peace and joy. So now we're going to actually get into your expertise a little bit. We do a thing called the secret question. We ask every entrepreneur a secret question, and your secret question is: what is the secret to creating a $1 million event that leaves a lasting impression and drives significant growth for your clients?
Well, I wrote 200 pages on that. So let's sum it up into something that can be digested on social media. Um, Identify what the people you serve are struggling with and what they
Mm,
need. Identify where they are and where they need to go. And then identify the solution that you provide that helps them get there. Provide them with what it is at a very high level and give it freely.
mm,
And inevitably, the people will resonate with that. They'll say, oh, they understand my problem. They have a solution that makes a lot of sense to me. And some of them will leave and they'll be so happy with that. They'll be like, that's all I needed. Thank you. This was the greatest event ever. They will spend no money with you. And that's fine. That's
mhm,
actually wonderful because they're going to say how great you were
mhm,
and your solution. There's another group of people that are like, I need more help than that. So you have a book, you have a course, you have a podcast. I need to listen to that, and we're going to talk more about that solution. And then there's the basket of people that are like, I need speed, and I need someone to be there with me. And inevitably, I would define that as a client who becomes a client, and it's really just more of the same solution. But you're digging into the minutia of their business. You're talking with them face to face or in a group or however you choose to do that. So the secret to $1 million event is that you see the problem, you have the solution, you connect it with the right people, and then you're there for them however they actually want you to be there. Whether it's super high level, I heard the answer, thank you. I need a little more, here's the book, or I want you to walk with me because I just feel compelled. You're the guy. And by being there for them how they need you, that's where the money really follows.
nice,
And I
nice.
also just I want to add to that too, that I don't think $1 million events sell. They don't sell, they serve. When you're
Mm,
completely committed to loving your people and to serving them at the highest level radically possible because you so care about who they are and what they're going through and what they need, everything else falls into place. I've never have seen a customer in 20 years that loves their people where their event dies. Doesn't happen. But I've watched a lot of events die where they don't actually love their people. They want to see how many tickets they can sell. They want to see how much money they made. And so don't do that.
Yeah. That's funny because when you were talking about your story and you shared some of that, I was like, in my head, that was going to be another question I came back to was what that's another secret. I was going to say this, we're going to ask you a different secret question, but that's a secret right there. Just a business overall secret is in a service business, your people, right? Like how much you love your people. It's not the money, it's the people. If you're serving the people and providing them what they need, that's I mean, it sounds so simple, but that's like the secret of business.
It's crazy what a foreign and rat and like weird concept that is to so many people until you say something like, well, not how you love your wife. Don't get it twisted. No, it's not how you love your best friend, but no, seriously. And I think it extends past services. I think it does extend into products because
Mm,
if you're making like a product for a baby and it's a
mm,
baby seat,
mm,
and
mhm.
if you don't love that child and you don't love that parent and or that grandparent or whoever is providing care, um, you're not going to design it in a way that's going to bless them as much as if you came from that viewpoint. I so strongly believe that.
Yeah, yeah, because you cut corners like because your love would be for the profit and not for the people. You would cut corners in order to make the profit.
Yes, and sometimes you'll meet the entrepreneur that's like, well, then I can't make any money, and
Mm,
that is not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying at all. There are so many problems out there and people that need solutions, and there's plenty of money for it. I think that it's a matter of your heart. You can do the same thing, but if your intention was just me, 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 that will eventually come across. People are really smart. They
yep,
sense it, they feel it. They
yep,
know if someone's phone. You can watch someone for like what, a minute, and like you're about it or you're not.
yep, yep.
um so I think that's important to take into anything that you do with a transaction. And like there's our church is really big on, we want to have a relational ministry, not
Mm,
transactional. Not like, oh, Leon, you do sound and lights, so surely you should do our sound and lights.
mm,
But it's like, no, like, Leon, how's your family? Like,
mhm.
how have you been? How's your wife? Did you have a good week? And then maybe later, hey, there's this, we're having this issue. Do you think you could help us with that? It's so different. It's so different. And both get it done.
Yeah,
Both get it done. But one leaves me feeling like you care about me and wants me to draw other people into that experience and into our ministry. And one makes me feel like, wow, you just want to use me. And that's fine because I think it's the right thing to do. I'll let you use me here. But I don't really want to tell this person who's maybe figuring out they want a relationship with God, oh, come here so they can use you. Like, no,
right,
come
right.
here so you can be loved and feel love and give love. And if there's a gifting that you have that can bless the church, you've been so well loved that you want to share it back.
Yeah, yeah, awesome. Also, I think there's something in there about giving value before you get value. Value return like often what we do is we invite people to one of our online events or just give a resource that we know will help them that we're not asking for any payment on. Let us show you that we can provide you value first, and then based on that, you're going to say they care about me, right? They're trying to help me even when I'm not yet giving them money, right? I think there's a big key there too.
I hear that from people on the phone a lot. That people will call and they'll ask for a solution. And if I don't have that solution or I know one that's better, I'd like straight up say, call these people. This is going to help you. And here's the thing. And this is how it worked for me. And they're like, wow, like I wouldn't expect someone to do that. And I'm like, well, you called, you needed help, and I'm happy to provide that for you. Or I give somebody the book. It's
Hmm.
amazing how people feel when you hand them this thing and you're
Hmm.
like, I think, but I don't just give it to everybody. If I don't think that there's a legitimate need there, I'm not using it to be like a shameless self promoter.
Yeah.
But I am using it like, you have an organization that is not doing events, and I've watched someone in your field crush it with
Hmm.
events, and you have a long education cycle, a long sales cycle. If you have somebody for a period of time, more than just we had our little Zoom consult thing, and you're really that great at it, you're going to serve them well. They're going to want to buy your products or your services. And here's this book.
Yeah.
So it's totally different. Now, if I was to say, here's the book. Oh, and when you need production, you call me. I'm like the greatest. Like, that is so weird. That is like so cringe.
Yeah, it
I
is.
don't,
It is.
I don't
It
like
is.
that. A lot of people say, check out this venue. They have like the mics and everything you need. Cause I know they're a 20-person organization.
Mhm.
They're not going to charge any money for this event. They're going to be scraping it together to get like an hors d'oeuvre
Mhm.
and some basic drinks, non-alcoholic. Like, you don't need a big production for that. But when you get to a place where you do, and now it's like, and okay, there's 1,000 people, and I
Yeah.
can't wrangle all this stuff anymore, and often those seeds we plant, they come back, and it's fun.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a whole biblical principle there about planting seeds, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So next question. And you may have already answered this, so I might just skip this one. But let's just put it out there. How do you approach creating an event that not only engages an audience, but also delivers a strong ROI for your clients?
So I think it's so important that when people walk in, they they see incredible production. They see that the space is magnificent. And you can make that happen in a gymnasium. You can make that happen in an office building. You can make that happen in an arena. And it's if you don't invest in those things and people aren't taking selfies in front of your stage, I think you've missed the mark.
Mhm.
And the reason isn't because we need to water down our message, or our message like doesn't have substance such that, oh, I need fancy lights and screens and things. No, people walk into that experience and they're like, oh, wow, what they have here is like just so important. And the position of their mindset is now in a place where like, this is important. I should pay attention to this. And when you lead an event, um, I write a whole thing in the book, but let's sum it up by saying you lead it by asking the question, why are you here?
Mhm.
And then you say, maybe you're here because you're trying to do X, Y, or Z for your company. Maybe you're here because you have this problem. Maybe you're here because you're trying to meet these kind of people. You are in the right place.
Mm.
And when you have identified your customers' needs and who they are and how you can best serve them, when you say those things, they're going to go, oh, thank God. Like, I'm in the right spot. I was worried about this because everyone's skeptical.
Mhm.
Before you can't be a true believer and say, I'm totally supposed to be at Doug's event. And if Doug doesn't say, are you, and then list those things, and then someone's like, yes, 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 great. And then I think a pro tip is then, and I see so few people do this. So if you're doing events, do this. Ask them or tell them, we're going to go right into a mini breakout. Look to the person to the left of you. Look, two people, you're going to look at each other. Tell them who you are, where you're from, why you're here. 30 seconds, go.
Mm.
We're going to put a timer on the screen, go. And then that happens. You do that twice so each person can say their thing. Now they've heard themselves saying why they're there, which reinforces to them, like, I have a mission. I'm not, a lot of people go to events that don't even know necessarily why they're there. Doug invited me.
Mhm.
I'm
Mhm.
going to the event. But priming yourself to be successful, you have to define success. So
Mhm.
in saying, I'm here, I want to accomplish this, you now have a bar that you can jump over. But if you don't do that for your people and give them that opportunity to really to do that for themselves, it's not going to happen like it could. Then take that mic around and you have someone running, like, share what you want to accomplish. And then there's like 5 archetypal answers. Let's say that you got 2 of them. You're going to list the other 3. And I know some of you are here for this, this, and this.
Mm.
And don't worry, we're going to be going over all of that. And then laying the foundation for how you're going to take them from where they are to where they want to be right then and there. So they're like, okay, I know where I'm going. I know what I want. I know how we're going to get there. I think that is so huge. I would say that's a secret that is so underutilized. It's unbelievable. And I'll tell people and they'll say, that's a great idea. And then they don't do it. And I'm like,
Oh my
oh,
gosh.
please.
They,
Why? And that's
yeah.
okay. That's okay.
Yeah,
That's okay.
they missed out. If they're not doing that. That is incredible. Just the buy-in, right? Getting them to buy into and make it personal to them. This is why I am here, right? This is what I want to accomplish from being here. Wow, so powerful. So that is definitely going to be a reel from this interview because I want people to have that. That is such great value for for them. So my next question is, let's talk about challenges with putting on events. So you had some high profile clients. I think you may have even Grammy Award-winning singers, um, presidents even. So talk about some of the challenges you have with putting on events for those type of people.
So when you're working with a high profile, high security atmosphere, person like the president, you're obviously going to have Secret Service, and you're going to have background checks, and you're going to have dogs sniffing your equipment, and you're going to have just a lot of bars that you have to clear. But as we see, and about a month ago, when we saw a former president get shot, and unfortunately some people lose their life less than 20 minutes from where I live,
Mm.
one of my pastor's wives actually having someone shot right next to her, like
Oh,
right next to her. um, there's great reason for all of that security. So I think just understanding that outcome and why it's so important, so that you don't get bitter with it, and that you're totally bought into, no, we want this safe. And by the way, you're there too. Like, if you love yourself and you love your family,
mm,
like, you want it to be a safe atmosphere.
yeah.
And every presidential event I've had the pleasure of being a part of has been so professional, so top notch. I just have to say, I've never met somebody around either a former president, a current president, a vice president, that isn't in like a really high caliber of individual. And obviously people aren't perfect. They make mistakes. But yeah, that's a huge challenge. It's a huge challenge. Like, I have something I have to do right now to get
Mm,
done,
mm,
but it is superseded by the security proceeding. And so just having extra help and being able to just be prepared for that, to know that you're going to go about half as fast as you normally
mm.
go, and maybe slower, and that's okay. So having the expectation up front, like, we're totally bought into the process, so why don't we go in 2 days early? And yes, there's some cost for that, but I can guarantee your outcome.
Yeah, nice, nice, nice. Now I want to kind of circle back and talk about faith again and how it's kind of played into your business. So how do you discern, we mentioned that word earlier, how do you discern God's guidance when making major decisions in your business?
I like, on the surface, it's very easy. God, here's the fork in the road. Do you want me to go here? Do you want me to go there? And sometimes I felt in my life that God's voice was just so clear, and I just knew exactly what He was calling me to. And sometimes I felt like it was silent.
Mm,
And I had asked a pastor at my church about that, and they'd said, sometimes you can't make a wrong decision.
mm,
Sometimes it's totally fine. He gives you free will, and it's not to hurt you, and it's so that ideally you come back into His presence. But maybe you're not hearing that voice in your discernment because you actually can't go wrong. So what do you actually feel?
mm,
And that's really interesting place to be. So I think that um, when it's easy, and when your prayers being confirmed, not only in your prayer life, but your spouse or people in your life who pour into you, like we talked about earlier. Like, for me, my Uncle Joe, he'll just send me a text, so random, and it has something to do with what I'm
mm,
discerning. And I take great peace in knowing, okay, God's trying to say something here, like,
mm,
pay attention. But being open, if you're open, I think a lot of people are very closed, like they're
mm.
as Jordan Peterson says, like, disagreeable, which isn't a bad thing. It just means that they know what they want. And however many times out of 100, that's what I'm going to do, because that's what I know. And then there are people who are agreeable. I happen to be extremely agreeable. Another word might be open.
Yeah.
So I don't really care if it's if it was my idea. I do care that it's the best idea.
Mm,
So if I have 10 people and maybe 3 of them have no idea what we're talking about, I actually like those opinions better, because so often the best solutions will come from somebody who isn't an expert, that doesn't have the blinders of their
mm.
experience clouding their vision, and clouding what the right situation or what the right response and answer is for a given situation.
Yeah.
So I think the more people you can bring into those big decisions, that you can trust spiritually, that you can trust their character, I think makes it a lot easier. Um, and I think I've had a tendency to overthink those big decisions and put so much stress on myself that it didn't help me get to a decision of any kind. Often for me, I need to walk away,
Mm,
and I need to go, like, play the piano, or go hit some drums, or go exercise. And then I can kind of come back to it, and I can approach it in business school, you learn about satisficing, which is where you're not going to come up with the best decision, like the optimum decision, but you're not going to make a bad decision. You have a limited amount of time, but you do have to make a decision. We're going to satisfice here. If you can do that exercise with yourself, a good decision will emerge itself. And I know in the past, I've been guilty of making perfect the enemy of good. And I find that people that are so successful, they took action. And it wasn't perfect. And everyone could see it wasn't perfect, but it didn't matter because it was good. So that's how my discernment has evolved. It's gone from trying to make the perfect decision and to acknowledging that God made me. He wrote my story before the beginning of time. And inevitably, even if I make the wrong decision, if I'm open to his correction and his guidance, it's like going to be for the right thing anyway. So it's like this circuitous logic, like I can't make the wrong decision because a bad decision is a good thing. A good thing's a good thing. So like the Christian life gives you some out there.
It
I
does.
think that's okay to take it.
Yeah. I love several things that you said there. Like, it is often necessary to get the point of view someone out of the muck, right? Like someone that's not in the day to day, like to just be able to take a look at what's going on from their surface level and say, this is just my opinion on it, and there's a lot of value in that. So that was an excellent share. Also, I'm also of the type that sometimes I need to go get out of the muck myself, right? Kind of like you said, like go do something that's not related and then come back to it, because oftentimes you'll come back to it with a clearer thought process, a clearer vision. So really key there too. So thanks for sharing that.
That's Einstein's thing, Eureka. That's what he would do.
Yeah. So now let's talk about how God has. Is there one point in your business journey that you can say, wow, that God's hand was in all of that? Can you kind of pull out a moment from your business journey?
Wow. All of it for sure. Because I don't think in my human capacity that doing live events in different cities where you're relying on so many things, like I started counting failure points once, just in things that we touch to put together. I mean, there's well over 1,000 connections that need to be made in positions and places. And then and if you start counting components within components, like a projector, do you know how many parts are in a projector? Do you know how many things have to go right that thing traveled through the roads of Pennsylvania and Indiana, and you made it in the dead of winter and it's cold, and now you're taking it in a warm atmosphere, and this thing operates at like 180 degrees and it works and it's bright and it looks good. Those sort of things just require so much faith. So every time I turn on like the show, which means the lights came on, they look great. The video came up, it's awesome. The sound sounds great. The wireless frequencies were able to be coordinated such that the TV stations and the cell phones aren't coming in and like our microphones getting the gift of tongues, like blah, 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 like some terrible thing. I really feel God's presence and smiling upon me. And similarly, if something doesn't go well and he leads me where I need to go into a solution, so that we're able to finish on time and we're able to do what we need to do. It's just so evident he's been there. And it's been so many times in my field. I can't really point to one. If I had to point to one, I would say COVID. I would say that I didn't self-destruct. I didn't quit. And that I'm now on set, praise the Lord, for the biggest revenue and profit year I've ever had. And I don't think I could have done that myself. I just don't believe that. I think I'm a capable person. I think I have a lot of talents and gifts, but looking at what my business has gone through and the numbers and we were booked 3 years in advance prior to COVID.
Wow.
Like we didn't have room in a schedule. I'd have either had to drop another couple $1 million and invest in teams and try and find someone who's as crazy as I am to take on the burdens of running something like this. So I could be doing two things at once, or I was going to stay steady booked with where I was. And in the course of a week, that all went away. So I would have never dreamed that I would, build it back in that sense. I was prepared. I'll drive a truck. I'll do that. I'll do anything. I don't care. I'm going to take care of my family. We're not going to starve. Certainly not because of a lack of my effort, but God's presence through that time to where now I'm seeing, like, if you didn't pull me from these situations and open up these doors, I wouldn't have this opportunity. And then also, like, my heart is to provide lots of value. My heart is to help people. And the things that we're doing now, particularly, we're doing a lot more installation for schools, where I'm going into situations where we're saving people $1 million, $2 million on a project.
Wow.
And had COVID not happened, I would be so gleefully employed and busy with the live events that I wouldn't even have time to be a part of that. And that's provided great joy. So his presence is everywhere if you look for it and you're open to it. And, if you're an entrepreneur, you know that you have enough adversities that you may as well look for it all the time. So when something comes up, which will probably come up today,
Yeah.
well, you might be dealing with now,
Yeah.
or tomorrow, whatever. Even in the good, there's stress. You
Yes.
sell a
Yep.
big job, well, now I got to do it.
Yep.
Like
Yep.
there's all, so I look for it all the time. Look for it all the time.
Question. Did your book come during COVID? Did you start writing your book during COVID?
I started writing my book January of 2023,
Okay. Okay.
and I've released it. It was sometime in July. It just celebrated a year.
Okay.
And
I was just starting to assume maybe during COVID that might have been the opportunity that you also produced the book. Maybe a lot of the ideas for the book came while you're in COVID. So
that would have been very smart. That would have been a good use of time. But truly, I don't know that my emotional intelligence was
Mm,
high enough at that point
yeah, that makes a lot of
to
sense too.
compartmentalize. Okay, everything's falling down. I have all these problems. I know what I'll do. I'll write a book and I'll put it on Amazon and I'll make like 13 cents a copy. That is going to fix everything. But what it did do was it's helped so many organizations, and I'm really grateful for that. And it's such a great introduction.
Mm,
Like I can say, I'm Leon, I care about you, and I want to help you. It's so different to be like, hey, I'm Leon. I think this book could really help you grow your
yeah.
organization. There's power to that, and not that I never thought anyone would read it. To be totally honest, I thought it'd be like, people give me books. I do these events, and I have a stack. I don't throw them away, but I can promise you, I don't read them all. There's no way. I don't read very many, if any, because it's like impossible with my time and having a 2-year-old and like just that's not. I don't have that kind of time. I listen to lots of audiobooks though,
Mhm.
and that's why I put this. That's why I did this thing on the audiobook. But people they don't throw away books. I've found I don't think they do, and even just reading the title $1 million Event, I think allows you to be like, I could do that. I think
Mhm.
that's why, oh, okay, there's value in events. And whether or not they remember me or not, I think having more events is a great thing, because it's the only time as an adult you're going to take 3 days and immerse yourself in something that you need that can help you get so far. I mean, how many people's lives have been radically changed because they went to a Tony Robbins event and like credit
Mhm.
him with all of this wonderful stuff that happened in their life. And I see that happen all the time. I see it happen in business. I see it happen in ministry. I see it happen in nonprofit. So I'm glad that I now have it.
Nice, nice. Um, well, thank you so much, Leon, for delivering so much value in this interview. There's going to be so many great reels and that come out of this, with lots of ideas for people and just things that they can act on. And that I really love when a guest shares like actionable content, and which you have. Like people will get stuff not just from your journey, but from like the advice that you've shared. But let me say this, he didn't share it all. You go grab the book, because there's it's a big book, so there's so much more in there. Where does someone go to find out not just about your book, but find about you and what you do? And can you kind of talk about who's the best client for you?
As far as the book, Amazon and Audible, which is Amazon's like audiobook place, is probably the best place for me. I'd be picking up the audiobook. If you can't stand my voice, I'm sorry. Don't pick up the audiobook because I read it to you. But I would listen to that thing on like 2x speed. That's how I consume
Mhm.
content anyway. And when something sticks out to you, you can stop. You can put a little thing. In terms of finding my company, Runaway Productions, LLC. You can type that right into Google, and you'll see Google My Business, which is the little thing on the right side that kind of shows you reviews and it shows you services. And I think that when you read from other people's words, you can't fake a Google review. If you know a way to do it, don't tell me, because I won't do that. But Google reviews are so fabulous. Like some of the other review sites you can pay for, and I get those solicitations, and I hate it because I've worked so hard to get real reviews over so long. But I think go there, read what people are saying. It doesn't take a long time. Their AI kind of sums it up, which is nice, and they'll have buzzwords there for you like installation or live production. Who's a good customer for me? If you are a school, you're a nonprofit, you're a ministry, you have a business, and you're trying to build an event space, and you like, I don't know how to do this technology. That's a great customer for us. That's someone that I can help walk through understanding, creating a budget so that you're not like spending $1 million on lights and you're like, I'm out of money. And you're like, well, you need video screens and cameras and all this other stuff. Or similar, maybe you don't have a lot of money. I love working with the small new church that's like, we got to get this thing live streamed. How do we do it? No, we have like no money. How do we do that? And because I've spent so much production money personally, I have a lot of insight there that I can provide. And then if you are doing events and you want somebody to help you strategically plan an amazing way to deliver the content, that's where my company shines. Most people think we're just a production company, but if you engage in a deep way with us and with me personally, I can hear where you're trying to go, and I can understand your solutions, and then I can help share different ways of presenting them. And then, of course, doing the actual lighting and sound and video. A lot of people don't think about events, but it's in terms of content creation. But in events, like the easiest way that you can get a year of content, when you make a beautiful set and you have tremendous speakers and you're doing like 20 hours plus of content over a few day period, you're going to have amazing photos, amazing video, long form, short form, reels, all of it. You can shoot it in such a way that you can do the vertical video thing. You can go wide. I see it so underutilized. People will do this event and I'm like, so we're going to record. No. Why? Because the event can die, or the event can continue to grow. And it doesn't just grow now, it grows in the next year. And so if you think about next year, and that the event that you create can have a community behind it that you're fostering all year long, that you're serving all year long. And then when it's time for next year, they can't wait to go. And they can't wait to engage, and to remind them of all that value, having that short form content, having long form stuff, being able to see that really amazing talk that was given again at a later point and re-invite them. Click the link below if you want to sign up for next year's event. It's so powerful. And I see such a missed opportunity there. So if you're doing events, please do that. And if you want help, you want someone to walk with you through that, I'd love to do it.
Nice. So a couple questions on that. If someone was to contact you, they have their idea about the event, right? Maybe it's their first event they have ever done. Will you help them, like, as far as an estimate, like, okay, you would say these are the things that I think you would be great for your event, as far as from the technical standpoint. And then what I love about what your company does is the strategy. There's a lot of video audio companies that will help you put lights and stuff up, but you actually help them put on great events that's beyond just the audio and video of it all. So yeah, so you do help them. I guess go back to my question is, you help them estimate it all, right?
Absolutely. So I'll have customers that come to me before they have a date, before they have a venue, and I'll quickly be able to understand, okay, here's your budget. Well, these venues are out, and this strategy's out. Okay, we're not doing 3-day now. We're going to do 1 day. And this is how big your audience is. And what I really like to do is help people create, to like survey the people that they serve, so that they know going in, this is about how many people we're going to have. This is about the topic that people are interested in. So often people will spend all the money, they'll do all the work, they'll have the event, and they just missed it like this much. They won't even ask their people. They think that like that's a bad thing. No, that's a great thing. Asking your people what they want so that you can give it to them is so powerful. So I help people all the time with that. I help them as deep as they want to go. A lot of people are like, we're not doing that. That's fine. I don't want to push anything on you. So sometimes that looks like uh, a ministry that's doing events all around the country. They go into Minnesota, Kansas, Ohio, Florida. That's fine. We do that. Sometimes it's a human resources organization that's having an event in San Antonio, Texas, and this is the whole budget we have. And often it'll make sense to bring our team in um, when we're based in Pittsburgh, but we work all around the lower 48, and they'll save money on their production. They'll get more out of their production, and then of course they'll get all of the consultation that goes with it. So the why behind it. A lot of production companies really aren't into that. That's like a totally different thing. Um, but that's actually the heart of what we do. Business strategy is so important because I don't want to see you have an unsuccessful event. Like, even if I get paid and I made money, lovely. But if you don't have success, you're not going to do it again next year. You're definitely not calling me for that. So when we work together and collaborate in that way, I find the best things happen.
Yeah. The best type of clients for you, I imagine, is someone that you help do the first event, and then they're that's so successful, and they're like, well, I want to do this every year. Okay, then let's have that relationship together and grow your business together. That's really, really, really amazing. So I did hear a key thing in there too. I was going to ask you, do you serve the entire country? And you just said the lower 48. So that is awesome. So no matter where you're having a event, unless it's Hawaii or Alaska or Canada or Mexico, Leon can take care of you. So awesome. Thanks for that. I have one final question. Oh, let me just say before that, those links, the link to buy his book will be in the show notes. If you're listening to this on audio, if you are watching this on video, like on YouTube or somewhere else, it will be either in the description or in the comments. So check out the book. We'll also put a link to wherever Leon tells me after this interview to put a link to get in contact with him. There will be a link to get in contact with him if you're interested in his event services. So look for those links. So last question, Leon. I don't let any guest leave without answering this question. Every time a guest comes on, I feel like they might leave here and not drop some wisdom that they wanted to drop on the entrepreneur. So this is the free form question. Do you have any parting words of wisdom that you want to pass on to fellow Christian entrepreneurs?
Yes. Love the people that you work with, love the people who you work for, and do it in a genuine manner. That every great thing is on the other side of that. And don't worship the God of money. It doesn't attract money. In my experience, it has not attracted money. The most money has found me when I've just radically served my customer. And when I went in without expectation of purchase, without expectation that you're going to spend money, when I just was completely myself and I gave freely, and that's when the most amount of money and blessing has come back to me. It's when I've had that posture. So as entrepreneurs, we're so pressured by the world. We see people in their private jets. We see all of this social media stuff. And I think that it can really cloud our vision of what success is. Gary Vaynerchuk is always laying out this vision that in entrepreneurship, people think that that's like the measure, but sometimes making like 150 grand doing something you love that people love is actually like a really great life and a really great career. And I think when you start to take that mentality, it removes a lot of that pressure, and you're able to just be great, and people remember you, and they share who you are and what you do with other people. And because they want to, because they just, there's referent power in being a good person. People just want to help you because they want to help you. No other reason. So if I can leave some entrepreneurs that are constantly pressured by how much money and putting their worth with their business, that's the other thing. What you do is just what you do. It's not your worth. Your worth isn't that you're a son or daughter of the Most High living God. It's not that I have a production company, because in the end, in 100 years, none of this will matter. No one will care. It'll be done. But your relationship with the Lord, I do believe, impacts how you'll spend eternity. So, and if you're on the fence, if some reason you're watching this, you have no relationship with God whatsoever, I totally respect you. I totally respect if you think I'm crazy, how I speak and how I live. But if you are questioning, I would just invite you to ask God to reveal himself to you, and I'm sure he will. Those are my parting words.
Wow, thank you, Leon. I love that. I ask that of every guest because there is always something great that is said, because I know they usually spill their hearts out, and I just felt like you just did that. So once again, thank you, Leon, and thank you, audience. And until next time, Christian entrepreneurs, keep moving forward.